and heavy with us on Ed Schultz News and Commentary. Well, they're back at it again. Floating another story about who's going to be Hillary's VP. I just get such a big kick out of this. We're so far away from that, but it, of course, plants in the minds of people that Bernie has no chance. Bernie's people are strong behind him. You know, they're saying it's a difficult task, but I think we can get there. That's what Tad Devine says. But before I get to all of that, I'll play along with the Clinton campaign for just a moment. They're just hot and bothered and so concerned about whether Democrats are going to be able to come together after this. What Jennifer Palmieri, the communications director for Clinton, is now saying is destructive to Democrats. That's her description of Bernie Sanders. So Bernie Sanders is really not supposed to cash whip anybody on a down ballot because he'd be criticized for that. So he's not giving any money to Democrats. Bernie Sanders is not supposed to say anything about Hillary Clinton because that would be destructive to Democrats, and they certainly wouldn't be able to unite the party if by chance she does get the nomination. And so Bernie Sanders is kind of just out there with millions of followers, millions of donors, and he's just supposed to just go along. On Sunday before the vote, he warned about the situation in New York. And we all know how many people were disenfranchised in the state of New York, especially in Brooklyn, which was a Bernie stronghold. Now, the margin of victory was big. We don't know that if there had been correct voting that it would have covered the margin. So Clinton wins New York hands down. But as a Sanders supporter and someone who thinks that Bernie should be president of the United States, how am I supposed to warm up to the candidate I'm supporting as destructive for Democrats? And yet Hillary is out there in her victory speech the other night throwing an olive branch. That was all over the mainstream media. Graphic Hillary olive branches off to Sanders' campaign. Really? But behind the scenes, you've got Jennifer Palmieri, who I think is in kind of an influential position with the Clinton camp, saying, well, Bernie is destructive to Democrats. Well, how come Hillary didn't say that? It's all a dog and pony show. They are no more concerned about uniting the party. They are all concerned with defeating Bernie Sanders. They are still nervous as hell. He picked up a lot of Democrats, a lot of delegates out of New York. He's going to do well next Tuesday. There's still the big prize of California coming up. And then there's this thing called the convention. And they're kind of trying to judge just how, quote, radical Bernie's going to be at the convention and what kind of demands he's going to be making. First of all, I think it's healthy that Bernie is against the superdelegate situation, because we got to get the money out of politics. That would be the first step for the Democrats to get big money out of politics. And what we've seen is the cash whipping taking place. You will never convince me that many superdelegates just happen to fall in line with Hillary Clinton and just happen to think that she is so much more qualified than Bernie Sanders, and that Bernie is wacko and out in left field big time when it comes to policies, although he is drawing millions of people and drawing millions of dollars. But the Democratic establishment has got it all figured out. I don't buy that. There's serious cash whipping going on beyond everything that we know about. And these superdelegates, they're not going to change. So Bernie might as well just go for broke at the convention. That's how I see it. All this talk about what the Republicans, I think the Republicans might have a boring convention. I really do. Let's go to Mike Rogers from Raw Story, longtime friend and, or should I say, journalist and longtime friend. Mike, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
How's this all going to go? What do you make of the Clinton messaging that's out there against Sanders?
You know, what I find interesting is the greatest claim on the Clinton side is about the personal attacks, when clearly both sides are up to it. You know, it's hardly something that anybody has the lock on, but if you listen to it and you read around the web, you'd think it was only one way. But I think that when you look at the facts out there, it's more than that.
It is really more than that. And I mean, do you have an issue with the possibility of the Democratic Party not being able to come together?
Well, you know, I think that this was a big concern that we all saw in 2008. I actually saw friendships that kind of blew up during the 2008 campaign, which of course involved Hillary Clinton and then the senator from Illinois, Barack Obama. And there were a lot of people who said, there was the whole Puma movement, which was against party unity and thought that was going to fight. But at the end, I do think, as we saw, Democrats came together and made sure that they elected the people that Democrats felt should be in the White House.
Well, it's not as if the Democrats would be going up against an opponent that's not well defined and against the people, such as Ted Cruz or Donald Trump. I mean, it's pretty easy. I mean, why would they be so worried to unifying the party against such limited options for the American people on the other side?
Well, when you look at what's happening in terms of the other side, you have to wonder how, they'll even come through it's not so damaged that, half of their party will absolutely despise the nominee. And I think that on their side it'll be, you talked about how Cleveland may be boring compared to Philadelphia. I think we're actually in for a pretty interesting time in a long time at either convention. I was talking to someone the other day about how conventions have been so programmed and become more and more programmed every year to the point where we see things on schedule like, 8 o'clock spontaneous demonstration. I mean, that programmed. And these will certainly not be as programmed as people are used to. Probably get the ratings up.
You think Trump is going to be able to get to 1237 before the convention? And if he's close, do you think it'll be a problem for him?
I think that if he's close, and this is just a personal insight, watching from that side from afar, I think if he's close and doesn't get it, then there's serious, and I said this very seriously, there will be serious security and safety concerns in Cleveland, Ohio. I mean, he has sent the signal to his supporters. There could be riots. Well, that's the kind of talk that tells people, see, Trump even says that there could be riots, and it's basically giving them agency to go ahead and do that. So I don't see how, if he's even within striking range of it, that it doesn't happen. Of course, when you hear people today, they're very, very, very firm. Everyone from, the party officials to the politicians about how it's all about a majority of delegates and people will have to accept that. I think a lot of those folks feel that they got on the anti-Trump train a little too late.
Well, I don't think, this is going to be a problem for Trump. I think that he claims to be a great negotiator, claims to be a great deal maker. This is his opportunity to cash whip and make promises to those last 100 or 200 that he may be short. And I think that that's a big number. I think he'll be probably within 50. And I think he's set up for some pretty big wins on the East Coast after what happened in New York. There is an inevitability. And a guy from Texas who's horribly radical, I don't think is going to play well in the northeastern portion of the United States. What do you make of John Kasich? We're visiting with Mike Rogers from rawstory.com. Great website, by the way. What is Kasich thinking? Kasich, if they go by the old rules, he can't be the nominee because he hadn't won. It's the old Romney rule. He hasn't won 8 primaries. He's won 1, and that's Ohio. And of course, they know how important that is. And he said he doesn't want to be on anybody's ticket. He wants to be president. So what about that dynamic? Where does Kasich fit in all this?
Well, they all say they don't want to be vice president, that they want to be president because if they said they wanted to be vice president, nobody would support them. So that's to be expected. Of course, when you look at Kasich, he comes across as a moderate. He's very good at marketing himself. But then what you see what he's done to, for example, Planned Parenthood, to the gay LGBT community, when you see what he's done to workers' rights, he's much more conservative than he puts out there. Last August, I predicted that he would actually be their nominee. So I think it was very interesting to see because he, Kasich is in their party the least polarizing. He doesn't have those kind of negatives that the other two have. And it will be, I wouldn't be surprised if he was on the ticket. And with, the mess that's going on, I could see a possibility where someone like him could lead the ticket as a compromise candidate.
You know, Trump all along has been the front runner from day one. I mean, that's just the way it is. And I think that there is a level of anger, obviously, that still boils. But why do you think delegates are with him? If they, I mean, this is a major statement about how screwed up the Republican Party is, isn't it?
It is, and I think that what's really interesting is that it's bringing out these new people who are, it's tapping into a lot of anger. It's, in many cases, the last vestiges of a very white-focused, angry community that sees what they perceive is their country being taken away from them. They see a black man in the White House. They see the real possibility that a woman will be in the White House, or a Jewish guy. So for them and their Leave It to Beaver definition of America, things have changed, and they have been kept in a place by politicians of ignorance.
Yeah.
They have been kept in a place where they were told, don't talk about politics. It's rude to talk about politics. But in fact, when people start to talk about them, they start to realize, what's up with these politicians? What's up with McCrory and these bathroom bills? Or what's up with this governor defunding Planned Parenthood, or Mary Fallon charging a tax on solar energy that goes to the power companies? These crazy policies, when people start exposing them and saying them, people start to say, wait a minute, why are you doing this? So I think that this anger that people have, somebody said to me, Donald Trump is angry and naive, and I said, no, Donald Trump knows what angry and naive people think, and that's a lot more important than feeling that way. And he's a master at messaging.
Very profound point. Mike Rogers, Raw Story. Great to have you with us. We'll do it again. Thanks, my friend. All the best.
Thanks, Ed.
You bet. When we come back, I want to play an interview I did with Leo Gerard, United Steelworkers International president, about what China is doing. And here's my issue. I keep hearing about middle-class jobs. I keep hearing about how the Democrats are so concerned about it. Yet no one is attacking this issue, what China is doing to our steel industry, what China is doing to our aluminum industry, and how they're gutting our infrastructure. And not only did we sign a bad trade deal, but we sit there and let it happen. And I know Obama's got a lot on his plate. Every president does. But he ran on middle-class jobs. When we come back, we are going to play that interview and listen to what Leo says about what's actually happening to the core of manufacturing in this country. That's next. Stay with us. Hey, folks, you've heard me talk about BioGreen Clean. I'm going to show you right now on my airplane just how tough this is. I want you to keep in mind, chemical-free, 100% plant-derived, biodegradable. It is the safest cleaner that you can get, and it's the most effective. Go to our website, wegothead.com, or go to biogreenclean.com. www.biogreenclean and order today. It's time to continue our conversation about mechanical insulation. Mechanical insulation is for the piping systems in our nation's commercial and industrial facilities. Facility owners are burning up billions of dollars through the lack of mechanical insulation on these piping systems. Call the iSave team. Insulation saves America valuable energy, and this team of energy conservation specialists is shovel-ready to save you money. Visit iSaveTeam.org to have a specialist give your plant an energy audit.
We perpetuate a culture of crime all the way from Wall Street right down to the main street in our hometowns. It's worse than it has been since FDR took control of the problem and said we can't count on industry taking care of the American labor. They probably have already engaged into some type of criminal cover-up, and the law prohibits the government from even doing anything about it.
Catch America's lawyer Mike Papantonio on YouTube at youtube.com/GoLeftTV.
I love this story. Joe Walsh of Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's from Cleveland, ironically. Eagles great. no question. And he tours a lot. And he has signed on to tour in Cleveland, Ohio on Monday, July 18th, which is the start of the Republican National Convention. And little did he know, he thought he was doing a concert for the veterans. Turns out it's basically being propped up by the Republicans as the start and the kickoff of their big convention. He said, to hell it is. And so he canceled. And he put on his Facebook and a rather detailed statement about why he just is not going to show up for the Republicans. Communication Workers of America, Alliance for American Manufacturing, BioGreen Clean, the iSave team bring you this production. We're back tomorrow. Have a good one.